User-defined functions. What are they? This is one of those things that's coming through into Power BI now. It's a really hot topic, and it's one that we're struggling to try and work out what's the best way to present this to you, especially considering that it's still very much in preview. We've kind of come around, haven't we? So let's look at it now. Hi, my name's Ross, the creator and founder of Geordie Consulting and Geordie Intelligence, the YouTube channel you're watching today. We've gone round, haven't we, and we've actually looked at how we build this pivot to the PowerPoint report pack, haven't we, using disconnected slices. And what the end result is of that is a raft of measures to use the disconnected table, the disconnected slicer, disconnected table, whichever one you want to use. Remember the book. That comes back, doesn't it? Because then I've got to write all these measures that are pretty much the same. Is there a better way? So here we are, Power BI desktop. Okay, we've got the report pack now. So we've started here, haven't we? Geordie 2025 stats overview. If I have a look here, we've got this selection page here. We can see we've got Geordie 2025. We could pick 2026 as well. But the whole point of this, wasn't it, was to be able to turn around and say, oh, but I want to look at. So if I pick, let's say, Geordie Bay in Northumberland, we go back to the title page, now saying Geordie Bay, Northumberland, 2025 stats overview. We can see the local authority overview with all the parklands for Northumberland in. We've got the text box now updated to give all the information about Northumberland. Carry on to the selected year. We've got these are in. Okay, so we've now got everything come in. I've updated the measures that were in for the spark lines. Okay, we've got everything pulling through the finished profile. We've got some issues still with these text boxes, which I said we'd look at today, didn't I? So we're going to look at these briefly today. Here as well, event performance, text box, still an issue to try and think through what are we going to do with it. Attendance, we've got that in now, so it's come through. We've got everything being pieced together and drawing in and having, this is our report pack for what's going on. So all of a sudden, what more could we want? It's all there, isn't it? And the ability to do all this and put it all together, it all comes together from here. So have a look at this. We'll do a couple of things just so you can see what's going on. Okay, but obviously we've got the volunteers, we've got different images in now. We've got the volunteer compare working as well, so we can actually track that. So let's see. Right, this top 10 too is where I haven't updated it yet. Okay, so we've got this big measure here, this split small multiples where we've got kind of the age grades. So for juniors, seniors and veterans, we've got the plus and minus. And this is always the one which is going to be the most difficult for us to do because the numbers change, like where we have duplicates. We've got a few people on 8, so that's led to having some scroll bars. There isn't really a better way of doing it than using the matrix visual that you've got or the table visual. It's a problem. This is definitely one of my biggest headaches that I've got still with this, is trying to work out the best way to do this. But what we can do is we can have a look. So we've got here, this one here where we haven't updated yet. You can see the numbers are completely different, aren't they, to here. Okay, so this is what people have done in a year. Okay, and the way we change this, if we pick on this one here, if we zoom in, we can see we've got registered finishers, gender, age group. All we have to do is change registered finishers. So if we change registered finishers and we open this DS measures, you see I've now got 3 folders of measures in here. We're looking at single year, so that's under single. And what we want is single registered finishers. Okay, so we pick registered finishers there. And that's going to update to give us all the values correctly. Likewise, for the matrix piece, we can do the same. So we come in here, we're going to change the date, change the measure, again, DS measures, single, this is registered finishers, and then this is going to be average age grade, again from the same area. So we'll scroll up, DS measures, single, average age grade, where is it? There we go, average age grade. Okay, and then we just then what we need to do finally for this, because this uses a top 10, is in here, we just need to change the top 10 registered finishers to be this DS measures again under single. Let's pick registered finishers and apply that filter, and we've got those. And then it's just a case of renaming these. So this is going to be finishes, average AG. Okay, so we've pieced those together simply and easily, right? But we've ended up with this raft of measures here, haven't we? So we've got all these ones in single, got all these ones in multi-year, we've got all these ones in LA, and you can see I've got them in brackets as to what they are. Now, this is something that would work with a user-defined function. So we'll have a look at a user-defined function for this later. But I said we were going to look at text boxes first. So we're going to do text boxes, and then we'll do this user-defined function. And then you guys can go away and test it yourself. Can't you? So text boxes. Zoom back out again. Okay, and we can pick one of these here. For example, we've got a text box. Okay, now this is text in this text box. Okay, and text boxes have this concept of values where you can put in a measure. And I've had a look. I was going through Microsoft Learn trying to find, is there somewhere that's got all the syntax for these? And I can't find anything. I've gone through various things. I can't really find anybody saying, hey, this is the syntax for it. You can review the values, and if you've had it auto-generated, you can do that, and you can show the auto-generated values. Auto-generation is an odd one, okay, because it works and it doesn't work. So let's scroll this up a bit, okay, and let's put in a narrative here. So we've got this, okay. We're not going to create a Copilot one because, again, to use Copilot, we have to use Fabric, which we've said we're not doing testing with paid stuff. So we're going to hit the custom. No summaries were found based on what's in these visuals, which, okay, I would hope there would be something. So I'm left with a blank. Let's remove that. If we go to, let's pick a different page. Let's try here. Let's insert a narrative. Let's ask the custom one. Let's see, it's going to come out. Okay, so it's come back with something. So we've got here DS finishes, single, multi for male was higher than female. Well, not adding a huge amount of value there, narrative. Not adding a huge amount of value. So we've got to think through what are we going to do with these? So these ones are kind of hit and miss. And I think that's my biggest fear around the AI ones is, are they actually going to add that much more value to it? What we've got here is a manually written one. So we've got over the 516 events at Geordie Bay, which is up until the end of the selected year. And we can prove that if we went back and said, well, we're going to pick 2022, and we come back to the top 10 all years, see it's 364 now. So this was one of the things to try and get right. So everything is now locked to the correct time frame that you go with, which I think is one of the lovely things about this report now. We've then got bits where you can see where they're green, these are coming from values. So we're pulling in the name of the parkrun that's selected. We've got the average here. What we could do as well is we could enter. We're going to pick value, okay? We can actually click on this, which shows, well, that's the average completed. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to pick here, and I'm going to say new, and this is one of those things where it really annoys me. So this is going to be underscore DS underscore average events completed, wasn't it? Average completed, and we want, this is single multi, isn't it? Yep, single multi. Okay. Is it single multi? That's saying, why is that saying 2.9? I'm on single multi. All years, top 10. Let's check that on. Single multi. And we get to this point. One of the reasons why I really hate these is it seems to lock every now and again with something when you're going, well, I don't want to do that. I want it to create a new value. New value. I don't know what I click differently to make that happen. As I say, I mentioned it last week, didn't I? Finicky. Little bits around these that just don't quite work as you would expect. So let's see. Let's call this male average complete. So this is DS average completed single multi. Okay, and you see blue line, so it shows there. Where age grouping gender is male. It's still saying 7. Oh, sorry, 5.31. 5.69 is now saying. Are you getting the feeling that this is a bit odd at times? I'm going to pick male, put a little male icon. Yeah. We could put a female here, couldn't we? So we can go, let's insert here. Average completed female. This is DS. Average completed single multi. Where age group and gender is female. Save. Okay, 4.86. So pick the female again. Okay. So we've put those in. So you can, in theory, build these up in this way. And we can see, you know, I can easily go and make these bold. I could do other things with this as well. You are limited though, and a lot of it you end up having to write measures to do these things. So be aware, you may have to write a measure to then return and then call that measure in the text box. That's definitely a long-winded way to go, but it does work. So if we want like last year's value, for example, we would probably have to go and write the measure to pull back from a year before, as opposed to being able to put it just in the text and the syntax of them. Would help if I could find, hey, here's a full syntax sheet of how to write these things. It's a real pain point. You also can't just go and say, here are these ones that you can just insert. You have to go run through that process. You can paste stuff in, but until it processes and works out that underscore with the blue lines, it won't work. You know, where and if and is or equals, these are all things you can put in, but you just find it can be finicky is probably the right word. There is no other way of putting it. Okay, but this is how you work. So what we would look to do then for these other pages where we have text boxes is we would probably then piece together and say, not this one, we've already got it. This one, we've already got it. Here, for example, we've got our high-vis heroes. We would look to put something in and piece it all together so that we've then got a nice consistent narrative. And some of it might be a case of where we have to write a paragraph of text talking about ups and downs or change or variation. That's all possible, but you're going to find you have to put in measures that can then be called, okay? But you've seen, all we need to do is come into here, write the text that we want, hit the values to insert a value, call the measure, okay? You in theory can say, give me a sum of this, but it's have the measures written, and it makes it much easier for you to test away from here and then bring them through, okay? Simple. Yeah? Excellent. how do we have a look at these measures? Let's go back to our page 1 here. I'm going to delete all this stuff because we don't need it now. But if you remember, we talked, didn't we? We've got this, we've got the schema views, haven't we? So what we're going to do is let's have a look at the measures. Okay, and we'll bring in, I'm going to bring in a folder, slicer here, and we can see we've got all these ones here. Okay, and let me put this up here and make that a slicer. Okay, there's so many things we can do with these now. It's awesome, isn't it? So we're going to look at single, aren't we? And what you can see if we make this full screen and I minimize these a little bit, doesn't make a difference, does it? Zoom in. If we look at these two measures here, we've got VAR year, so we've got a year variable. We've then got a date variable, a lookup variable, and then we're actually piecing together the measure that we're going to use. Okay? In practice, we're not using the M date in this context. It's there because it's when I was doing the other ones, we used M date as part of it. So we've pieced that together. And because that's a standard, we could use this for a disconnected table. Sorry, not for a disconnected, for a user-defined function. And what that would mean, okay, let me just come out here. Let me zoom back out. Let's go back to the report. Is if we have a look at the multi-year, particular here, okay, you can see we've got in the switch statement here, switch true equals, okay, let's copy this value. Let me go to Notepad, okay, let's paste in there. All right, so the business end of the measure, again, this is one of those things that happens when we do these kind of things, right, is this switch statement. All the rest is kind of preparing stuff for the switch statement. So we're getting an end date value, which is the end of the year, the last day of the year. We've got a switch, which is checking now to see is the year filtered, because the original plan was this is going to work with the columns where we pick the year. And then here we go, here's the year. So is the year filtered? If it is, bring back the maximum date. Okay, so we're actually going to return what's the top date that we've got. The idea being we can confirm is this after or before the max date, which if it's a year filter, hey, this is after it, we don't want to show those years, so they'll be blank. So it stops at the end year. If it isn't, make it blank. Okay, you want it to be blank, what's playing it? But then looking up the location ID from the event name, and then this is the bit. So switch true. Okay, so switch, where this is true, do this. And the first thing we're doing is blank M date, which is this. So year isn't filtered, so we want to do a calculate based on the end date of the year that we've got. Okay, so go up to this point. So that's where we can then use for the top 10s this. Otherwise, it would return a blank because the maximum date with no date filter is in the future. So it's going to return blank because the maximum date is the end is after it. Okay. If that's not the case, we confirm, we check that we are less than the maximum date. So we are currently within the context that we have selected. We want to show a column, is what we're saying. If that's the case, then calculate this with the event. And there's no date filtering in here, okay, deliberately, because we're using the context that we flow through into this visual for, into that point 4. Otherwise, be blank. Okay, so we've got these kind of 3 options. Now, beforehand, okay, so this was what it was beforehand. So if you think all of those single multi, which are multi-year ones here, had to be manually updated individually. So we had to manually update individually to fill these. Okay, there's no shortcut to it. And this is where user-defined functions come in. Okay, so a user-defined function would allow me to piece together what I need from here without me having to go through and say, right, I need access, or I need to, trying to think the right way to put this. It would allow me to come through and update the user-defined function only and have all the subsequent measures that use it updated. Okay, so how would we write that user-defined function? Okay, so let's open up the model and let's see what we're talking about. Okay, so here we have our model. Let's open on the other screen. I apologize. Always going to be a case. So here we have our master file. Okay, everything comes through this file, doesn't it? Okay, now let's be upfront and let's be clear here. Okay, these tables here, these are the ones that, in theory, if we get this right, we can just write and have them, and it'll be a simple measure based on a function. That is fine. Okay, but the function will not stop me having to write the measures. Okay, I will still have to write the measures, but the syntax of the measures will be greatly simplified. I won't have to write all this. I will simply have to write the measure name and the function and what the function is. And based on this, what we have is we've got three parameters, okay? We've got parameters, which are going to be these ones here. So it's a local authority level, so it'll be a 1 or a 0, or sorry, a 1 or a 2 for that, and a 1 or a 2 for the year. So like 1 would be single year, single event. If we have 2 1, that's going to be LA single year, and if we have 2 2, that's going to be LA multi-year. So we've kind of got 4 options to it, haven't we? There's a whole variation that we can go through for these. And at the moment, we're using 3 options. So we've got like LA1, multi-year, single. But we can check through and look each of these, and they all kind of come down to the switch statement side of it. So we know a switch statement will work for it. Even here, we've got the eval. It's a single clause. A switch statement can handle a single clause. It's going to be based on this LA versus that. We can piece it together. There is a logical structure that we can build for it. The challenge is always going to be the same, okay? That how exactly do we want to piece this together? So what do we need to do? So we need to define a function. I'm going to call it fn. FNDS values. Okay, so we've got function, DS values, and what we're going to do is we're going to say this equals open brackets, and now we need to define the parameters for it. Okay, so the parameter that we're going to have is underscore eval or value measure. Okay, and that's going to be it is an expression, okay, because we want it to evaluate when we're there. Okay, and then we are going to have underscore scale. That is going to be a numeric, okay, because we're going to say it's a 1 or a 0 for the scale. Is it an event? Is it a local authority? Scale? I don't know. And then we are going to have underscore scope. I should really do these all as lowercase, shouldn't I, just to be sensible. Let's get scale and scope. Okay, and that's going to be numeric. Close brackets. Okay, that's going to go send that off to. Okay, so we now can write the measure code or the measure. So the first thing I'm going to do, is I think what we need to do is we need to piece together some of these things. So step one, I'm going to copy the top from one of our measures. Okay, and I'm probably going to do this from the single multi. I'm going to go back to I've come back to here. I'm going to pick this, and you can see we've got this. Okay, I'm going to Control C on that, come back to our DAX, paste that in. Okay, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to delete here, and I'm going to say VAR underscore LA equals lookup value, and again we're just going to do it this way. Tracked events, local authority, where we're going to search in tracked events, local authority for the selected value from DS events authority. DS events authority. Okay, so we've picked. Let's get the local authority value. So what we have from here, let's be clear, we have an event date. Okay, so then I can end date that we want for this. We probably want to also put in an end year as well. So what I'll do is I'll put in another one here. Equals, and what we'll do with this is we will return lookup value. Actually, we don't need lookup value. Well, what am I doing? Selected value was fine, wasn't it? Absolutely fine. Let's just do this. Selected value. I'm writing this as if it's something else. Selected value. DS year. Year. Okay, so we've now got a year value, and we've got a local authority value as well as an event location ID. So we've got key bits of information that we can use. So the final thing we're going to need to do is do this VAR eval. And this is going to be the interesting one, because this is going to be the switch. VAR eval equals switch, open brackets, true, open brackets, comma. Okay. So what we want is we want to be able to say, and again we might want to go through and we can work out the values for each one. We'll say this. So for DS values, if, that's not an if, is it? So we want scale equals 1, and scope equals 1. Okay, so both of those are true. The result of that is going to be, this is single and local. So let's go back to our view here. Let's pick single, single. Okay, and we can see this is what we want. Okay, so we've got measure name and location, event ID. Okay, so what we can come back through to, let's go back to our DAX, paste that in. We don't want to put all finishes because we're not going to put in what that is. We are going to do this measure. So underscore measure from here based on this. So we have event, so look up location ID is equal to that. And we've got year, and we need that to be E year. Okay, so we've got the syntax for that. So we now have our first one. So for single, single, do this. Next, what we're going to have is where scale equals 2, or scale equals 1, and scope equals 2. So single multi. If we go back to our measures there, multi-year single, we can see this is where we've got this complicated switch statement here, but that's fine. We can control C on that switch statement as a whole. We can come back to our DAX here and we can paste it there. Okay, so we've got a nested switch statement, which it's not necessarily the best. You know, we might want to do some more things in there, add to those clauses, but I'm going to leave it for now as this is our first draft. Okay, this is kind of what we're doing. This is how we get to these points. Okay, one of these things with DAX is you can always reevaluate and come back later. So now we're going to do scale equals 2 and scope equals 1. Okay. We can go, we could have done it from here, couldn't we? Why on earth did I was making a big fuss out of everything? No, I wasn't. You can't see the measures there, can you? Let's go back to here. So we know LA, 1 year, here we go. Okay. So the eval is that. Okay, so it's a calculate. We'll go through and we'll check that we've got everything there. So let's go back to our DAX. Okay, calculate. Oh. Well, let's minus. Got lots of these all finishes. We need to change these all, don't we, to be underscore measures. Okay, because we're not hard coding it. What we're presenting it with is now evaluate this expression. Okay, so we've got calculate, measure, tracked event, local authority equals LA. That's right, that's the text that we want. And we've got where year equals, well, we know that needs to be E year, don't we? And then we can close those brackets. And then finally, we want an extra clause. So I'm going to put blank. Okay, so we can say blank for that. So we could go through and say, we can easily do the 2 for 2 as well. But for now, we've got the 3 clauses that we want, all within this. Okay, so we've got our function. Last thing we need to do, remember, is to return it, don't we? So we're going to return, and we want to return eval. Okay, and then let's just be really, really good people, because we might as well try. So we'll hit format, and it'll do something with it. Okay. We've got something there. We can now run that. Oh, sorry, not run, my mistake. We need to add this to the model or update the model. So we're going to do that. This now exists within our model. Okay, so how can we test it? What can we do to test it? So let's go through to here. Let me remove this. Okay, we've got these here. So we've got disconnected slices in. We've got the ability here. So let me start by saying, right, let's look at registered finishers, LA, let's look at registered finishers for multi-year. Oh, let's do that. And let's do the same for the single year registered finishers. Okay. So we've got all 3 versions of that measure, haven't we? Selected here. Okay, and I'm just going to move these around a bit just to kind of highlight this a little bit more for you. Okay, bring that across. So what we should be able to do is write a measure now that we can easily put across to these. So the way we would do this is we're going to say this is going to be our test eval. Okay, I'm just going to call this test eval. So we'll call the function. So function ds values, which we've just written. The measure is going to be registered finishes. We want to know the registered finishes. We'll start with 1, 1, close brackets. Okay. I can drop that then onto that measure, and this should be the same as we've got for this, which it is. Brilliant, perfect. The only thing that's missing is I need to make sure this has got 1,000 separators on it. So we'll do that now. Okay, let me just click on this again and do this. Okay, so now if we change this to a 2, it should now be against this one. So it's 50,000. Okay, 50,020. So yeah, local authority, single year. That's exactly right, isn't it? And then what we're going to have is single and 1. So if we pick 1 and 2, we should get 48. 48,753. So this is now what I would have to write for each of these measures. So yes, I still have to write each measure, but the syntax that I'm having to write is much easier. Okay, so my function I've written has simplified what I have to put in for each of these. And in the future, if I change anything, like we evaluated where we suddenly realized that, oh, the measure here needs to be updated to this, okay, which was quite a lot of change actually, because this was changed and this, everyone that was using that had to be individually touched. Now, all I'm having to do is come into my DAX, redefine the function. So we go to function here. We look in the functions that we've got. We've got 2 functions, we see DS value, and we would simply hit 3 dots, not 3 dots here, define and evaluate, and it would write me out, here it is. I can then put in the pieces that I want and evaluate this correctly and make one change and have that flow through. So it's much more efficient. That's the benefit that you get from these user-defined functions. This is huge, okay? So what do you think? Okay, text boxes, they are what they are. I hope they get some more love from the platform. Okay, I hope they do. One of the things we really need is a good way, though, of being able to feed in content into text boxes. There are things you can do. So one of the things we've done in the past is we've used the metrics stuff. So if you remember, I've got a scorecard link. I put a link to the build a scorecard, build your first scorecard thing here. If you link those and do stuff well with them and assign ownership of the elements, what you can then do is have people add comments to the scorecard. You can then pull those scorecard elements into it. Okay, so that's more of a real world thing than we would have for the parkrun stuff. But real world, your data, you could have, because don't forget, this could be your store report. We go and pick and choose which store we want, which year we want, and it'll return it. If somebody's put a narrative in a SharePoint site in something that can then be called, you can use logic of a UDF to go and pull that value out. You can have tables, you can have whole rafts of text that just make no sense and have it pulled because you have a logical structure to it, okay? Everything is possible. You just need to think through what you want to do. And those UDF structures and the ability to then feed those into text boxes is huge. Because remember, simple measure, call the measure, and it'll put it in the text box. Problems you'll have in terms of individual syntax within that is always a pain point. Yeah, there isn't really a good way of writing HTML, have something and have it fold into Power BI for obvious reasons. There are big security holes that would be just exposed if you did it. There are HTML visuals you can get, you can download that would show it. Your mileage will vary with those. Okay, so think about it, have a think. There's lots of options, but what you probably find is you need 2 or 3 things. Some of the value will come through as plain text, some will be bolded where you've got the numbers, and just piece it together with how you think it's going to need to go. But logic is the key. I was thinking when we were looking at this that we did a project for a client where we ended up writing, it was about 1,600 measures, just copying and pasting and just changing the odd bit of word or the odd word for each one to make it work. UDFs would have saved so much time because fundamentally, yeah, it's just the UDF. We made some tweaks. There were a few times we updated a couple of things in those, and then it was 500 measures had to be updated. There was no shortcut to it. UDFs then, we would have had one place, update one location, it would all flow through. Yes, I would still have had to write 1,600 measures, but it would be 1,600 based on here is the thing that it is. And it was all logical. So we had a core sum or evaluation criteria, and then there were lots of this year, last quarter variations on them all that it needed. And the client needed them because of the way their operation worked, that everyone needed to be able to build their own content. They didn't necessarily know how to piece it all together. We experimented with lots of other things to try and make it work. UDFs would really have saved an awful lot of time and management and maintenance of it all, because just going through and sanity checking that everything's been updated, there's no shortcut. It's not quick. It takes time. So think about using UDFs as well. Be advised, though, they are still in preview. Well worth looking at. Microsoft has made it really clear this is something they need working, and looking at the way the platform's going, they do need it. There's no, there's no way we can just go, we're just going to get rid of it. They need it. The time savings that you will get from it as well are huge, but as with anything that's in preview feature, is this something we can really use in production at the moment? I'm not sure. As I say, looking at this is small. We've only got 30 potential across the three types we've got. If we brought in the 2.2, so the multi-year local authority variables, then, or the versions, yes, we'd be up to 40. But that's where this is the problem, isn't it? This is where your measure counts. They expand, they balloon across your data sets. Anything we can do to simplify that ballooning is key. We can use calculation groups, we can use all the other things that we can do, field parameters, calculation groups, these to try and reduce measure counts, but fundamentally, measures will increase. And there's no way that you can, that's not going to increase. I've gone through this. We needed all these measures to write the PowerPoint report. There's no way around it. The PowerPoint report now is amazing, okay? Genuinely, from my perspective, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up my own backside, this is a really good piece of work. I mean, if I was a business, we're saying, well, if we look at this from a business perspective, remember, this is a retail analog. All of a sudden, this model I could use to pick and say, right, I want to have a full customer report on a particular customer. It's this sort of thing would do it. Use disconnected slices, change those slices, pick that customer. This is everything they've done this year, last year. We can do here's your annual report up to the end of last year. This is your current year report. This is where you currently are. Disconnected slices, this exact model, this mechanism of doing it, that's how it would work. Likewise, I could say I want to see what's going on in my store. My store, which is part of an area or part of a country, it's the same model, isn't it? Suddenly, same model. As I say, from that customer perspective, it could be the same sector. Actually, how does this customer compare to other customers in that sector? In terms of, are they, is it B2B sales, where these are customers in the manufacturing centre, is it personal, these are customers who are high net worth individuals, what are you doing to classify stuff? This method works consistently across it, and that's one of the things that I love about Power BI and the way this system works, is this might seem like a bit of a noddy thing, okay? And in some ways it is, but we use it as an example because it is portable. You can take this and use it in your business. This isn't a case of me saying, oh, we've done this bit of work just so you can have a look at it. It's, we've done this piece of work. This has real world advantage to you and the way you would work, okay? That's where this is powerful, isn't it? That's the power of Power BI. On that note of cheese, I think I might have to call it a day. For now though, stay safe, take care, ta-da.